Welcome back to the Hippie Martha Hormone Hour, the space where we slow things down, reconnect with our bodies, and learn how to work with our hormones instead of against them. With the new year often comes resolutions, more discipline, more control, more doing. But today we're flipping that narrative. This episode is about sustainability, about choosing practices that actually support your cycle, your nervous system, and your real life, not just your motivation on January 1st. I'm so excited for today's conversation because we're diving into movement, fertility awareness, and food through a much more intuitive ancestral lens. I have Kenzie Jo with me today in this space, and she is both a fitness instructor and a fertility awareness educator who teaches in what she calls a Cavewoman style, grounded, instinctual, and deeply respectful of the female body. Together, we'll be talking about why so many New Year's resolutions fall apart, how to create movement and wellness practices you can actually sustain long term, how to sync workouts without becoming rigid or obsessive, and how food choices can gently support your cycle rather than stress it out. This conversation is for anyone who's tired of forcing themselves into routines that don't fit, anyone healing their relationship with exercise or their cycle, and anyone ready to build habits that feel nourishing instead of depleting. So take a breath, settle in, and let's talk about what it really means to support your hormones in a way that's simple, sustainable, and deeply human. Kenzie, thank you so much for being here. I knew as soon as I saw your Cavewoman post on Instagram that we needed to chat. I connected very deeply with it, being a fertility awareness educator. And I am just so thankful that we have the chance to chat.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. So we typically on the show, we start with a cycle check-in. Would you
I
like
love
to
that.
share your cycle check-in?
Yes, so I'm on day 8, just finished my bleed a couple days ago. So, I'm starting to feel my estrogen, feel my wild oats, you know what I'm saying? Getting into that follicular phase glow up.
That's awesome. I know I'm on cycle day 1. So
Oh
I am
no.
feeling a little, usually I
Yeah,
plan these like accordingly, but it
it
did not
happens. Yeah, can't
for
control your
us.
follicular phase.
I am, yeah, it is the perimenopause hitting. So it's all good. But I'm glad that you are in that phase. I'm happy for you.
Perfect time. Perfect time for me to be here. I'm sorry that
So
we
it's
got
all
to it,
good.
man.
I don't have a lot of talking to do, so we'll be all good. So for anyone who hasn't met you or seen your work on Instagram, can you share a little bit about who you are, what you teach, and how this whole cavewoman style of fitness and fertility awareness was born?
Yes, I can. So, hello, sisters or brothers, if I have any cavemen who are listening. I'm Kenzie Jo. I'm a women's health coach, and I know you hear health coach, and that sounds super general. So, here's a little bit about my background. Did you go to public school?
I didn't. I went,
Okay,
yeah.
so your experience is a little bit different. But for the people who did go to public school, there's always a kid who brings a packed lunch and never eats at school, like the cafeteria food, like never misses a beat, probably has like a medical condition or some sort of allergy that makes them super health conscious. That's me. I was that kid.
Oh, no.
So, I had people like smelling my lunch and like making comments. I always felt left out of the lunch line, but I had an allergy, I had a milk allergy that I grew out of. But having that from a really young age, like that meant that my health obsession was very, very serious from a young age. Um, Started because of the food allergy partly, but also because I thought healthy and skinny kind of meant the same thing. And,
Mhm.
with society and all of that. Anyway, that was the first domino that kind of set off my journey. Fast forward to adulthood, I find fertility awareness method when I'm coming off of hormonal birth control. And then that really hit me where I was like, whoa, this is a whole new world I didn't know existed. I need to start telling other women about this because if I don't know about this as a doctor's kid and a nurse's kid, there's so many other people that don't know this, and it just really changed my life. So that was the first thing. I got my fertility awareness certification through the FEMM Foundation, FEMM, if anybody wants to look it up. And I found a lot of things there. And then I realized that I really wanted to be a full rounded health and wellness tool for women to use. So I went and got my personal training education at a local gym and started doing weightlifting coaching so that I could add that to my tool belt. I've kind of dabbled in pelvic floor a little bit. So I'd say health coach. It's a general term.
Yeah.
It encompasses a lot of things for me. I talk to my patients. I'm not a doctor, I'm not prescribing anything, but I talk to my clients about pelvic floor and intimacy and weightlifting and nutrition and their lifestyle habits and fertility awareness. That's like the main bulk of it all. But anyway, that sums up
Yeah.
everything.
No, that's perfect. Well, and I think what people don't realize is all of that is connected, right? Like
Yeah.
it affects every part of our being. So it's very
Mhm.
common for us to have interests in all these things because it's all interconnected.
Yeah. So, and that was really for me, it was realizing my cycle. And then that was really what put the picture together for me was realizing how connected my cycle was with the rest of my life and like, oh, my nutrition and the way that I perform in the gym and the way that I interact in my relationship with my friends, my family, my partner, all of those things fluctuate. And it all has to do with my cycle, my overall health, the whole body working as a system. And so that's why I started adding all of the tools to my tool belt. But I really don't think of myself, even though I'm like, oh, hey, I'm a health coach. I don't think of myself really as a health coach. It just started as me wanting to share that information with other women. So I think of myself more of as like an online big sister who just happens to do this professionally also.
I
Um,
love that. And okay, online big sister Cavewoman. So like bring in the Cavewoman. So where did that come
yes.
from?
Honestly, it happened as a complete accident. I was spending time recording. I was sitting there. I do most of I'll like pick like a topic when I'm doing content. I'm like, okay, I want to talk about this. What are the most basic things that people need to know about this so I can start building? And I was recording a video about, what I was talking about on my viral one, talking about how our brain body change throughout the cycle influenced by different hormones. And I didn't say it that way. I said it way too articulate. And I would watch the video back and it would be way too long. And I would start zoning out while I was talking. And so I was like, okay, I'm a yapper. I'm an over explainer. How can I make this not boring for everybody else? Because, people, I heard in one of your podcast episodes, I don't remember which one it was, but you said something about people zoning out when you start getting into the hormone talk, like hormone zombie, like they
Yeah.
just glaze over. And that's true. And even if I do it professionally and I'm watching my video back and I'm getting glazed over, like everybody else is going to. So I was like, okay, I got to try something. And I saw somebody do cave speech for some other video. And I was like, okay, might as well try this for my niche. And then it blew up and people liked it. And they really seemed to like resonate with what I was saying. And so I've just kind of rolled with it.
That's amazing. It is. It's so relatable. And it's like, okay, like obviously we're capable of, grasping onto that information, that content. But like when you kind of dumb it down a little bit, it's
Yeah, it's
like,
like keep it
it
thing.
is.
Like
And it
it
just
people,
sits and you're like,
yeah.
oh yeah. And then you start like talking cavewoman in your head. I feel like I did.
Yeah, yeah, it's simple, it's relatable, and like dare I say a little funny,
Yeah.
maybe. People are
Yeah.
getting some humor out of it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. It is hard for me, like I told you before we started recording. Like I spend sometimes like an hour just trying to not mess up cave speech while I'm trying to record these because I do it all in one take. I don't cut anything out.
It's
That
impressive.
probably, thank you. Thank you. It's exhausting. I need to, the teleprompter thing is great.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's how it happened. I'm really grateful for it. I'm grateful that it resonated with everybody. I'm really, really happy that I get to reach so many people and impact so many people with it. And if figuring out how to say it in cave speech is what does that, then heck yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love it. So, okay, being a fitness instructor, I'm sure you see all sorts of new faces at the beginning of the year. And I saw you posted, like one of your recent posts was about how to not fail your New Year's resolutions.
Mhm.
So, first, are you a person that does New Year's resolutions or are you a like, no?
So I used to be more in like the traditional sense of New Year's resolution where you set a resolution and you just hit the ground running from January 1st. I would say that I'm not that person anymore. I usually am thinking about what I want to accomplish next, or I always have kind of a working goal. And for me, January is a time of like scheming. I always
Yeah.
have something up my sleeve, but I'm not someone who sets like a big goal on New Year's Eve and expects to do everything perfectly from January 1st. At least not anymore, right? I used to be that person where I'd say, "Oh, it's time to get my summer body." And then I would start going on a diet and my New Year's resolution is I'm going to eat clean and not eat any sugar. And then you have like one Oreo and you think to yourself, well, I failed, so now I can eat the whole box because whatever, throw it out the window, right? And then you try to like start over next Monday or February 1st. And so having that mindset, like That's the problem. The problem isn't trying to abstain from eating an Oreo cookie all
Yeah.
year long. The problem is the all or nothing mindset. It's the unrealistic goal setting and the fact that usually there's no real system or like process, stair stepping stone type thing to get you to that goal. So, yes, I always have some sort of goal for the year, but it's not really by the calendar year. How I approach it is not the typical New Year's resolution sense. And I really think that a lot of it just has to do with mindset and how you set the goals.
So how do you not fail then? Like what is your list of not failing?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is get your mindset right. Set your goal realistically. If you expect yourself to go from binging Netflix and Ben and Jerry's every single night and drinking caffeine for breakfast every day and never hitting the gym, and you're like, this is the year I'm going to get healthy, and you think I'm going to do it absolutely perfectly from January 1st, you're setting yourself up with unrealistic expectations, which there's a little piece of your brain that basically she's like a little, I read this in a book and it was the best analogy. It was I believe it was Burnout by
Emily
Dr. Emily
Nagoski.
Nagoski.
Yeah.
Yeah, where she talks about the little monitor,
Hmm.
and your little monitor says if this is worth the effort. So if you set the goal and you're like, it's going to be this insurmountable amount of effort that I need to put in to achieve this goal, the little monitor in your brain essentially says, no, this isn't worth it for the result because you're not allowing yourself to win because the goal in your head is this gigantic thing. So, how you don't fail is you think, okay, what's the end result that I want? Now break it down into the simplest sense. Say, okay, well, I want to transition into not binging Netflix and eating Ben and Jerry's every night. So January's goal would be watch one less episode of Netflix. Try get a Ninja Creamy, try to make your own ice cream. Try something like that, but don't say no to ice cream, no to Netflix, because you're gonna immediately hate your life and you're not gonna give yourself the transition time. Well, plan for the failure, plan for yourself to say, screw it and have the Netflix and Ben and Jerry's one night, and then tell yourself, it's okay that I failed, I'm human, but I'm still committed to myself. So that's the second thing is committing to yourself, committing to your goal because you love yourself, not some goal that is the reason you have the goal is something on the outside of you, like looking good in a swimsuit for other people's like
Right.
perception of you or something like that, right? Your goal has to be something that you are doing for yourself because you love yourself. Focusing on improving yourself and loving yourself is how you'll actually stick to it because then you'll give yourself the grace, you'll give yourself the love, and you won't punish yourself every single time you fall off.
Yeah, I think sustainability is actually like, is this sustainable for me? And if not, then relooking at your goals again, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're not going to do it.
I have a client of mine who asked me this last year, hey, I'm thinking of doing a cleanse. I'm
Mhm.
thinking of doing a detox. And I was like, if you're approaching this from I'm going to detox for a week intentionally, like I'm about to do a 3 to 4 day fast, that's intentional. I have a plan for it. I'm not expecting for some gigantic result from it. It's kind of supplemental. What's going to move the needle is your everyday habits, not some like one-off thing that you do and fail and expect yourself to like show up and perform like crazy for.
I 100% agree with you. What are some smaller habits that you recommend like daily that are helpful for both hormones, for your body, overall health?
So I sound like a broken record because my answer is always, and this is never what anybody wants to hear because it's so simple and stereotypical, move your body, eat well, get enough sleep.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, that's what it is. Now, of course, all three of those things are very nuanced, very complex. Everybody has a different schedule, a different lifestyle, different things going on. So, what would I say for everybody that would fall under those three things? Well, move your body, set a commitment to yourself that you're going to spend 10 to 15 minutes a day moving your body, whether it is an intense movement or a gentle movement, it doesn't matter. Commit 15 minutes for yourself, for your health, not for movement, not to get skinny, but just to give yourself 15 minutes to just relax into your body, feel your body, be present with your body. That's the first thing. Second thing, people need to learn how to balance their blood sugar. Nobody knows about balancing blood
Oh
sugar.
my
And
gosh. I
if I
just
had
saw
to,
I just had a client today that we literally went over that and she's like 47.
the
It
number, I have people pass out on me in the gym all the time. And it's like 9:30 or 10:30. And I say all the time, I'm being hyperbolic, but it's like 9:30 or 10:30. And I've got like a 50-year-old, 60-year-old woman who's working out and she's like, I feel faint. I don't feel good. I'm like, what did you have for breakfast? I had an apple
I
three
just had
hours
coffee.
ago. I had coffee with, it's fine. I had my Premier protein shake. It's fine. I'm like, no, 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 no. And when did you have it? I had it like 3 hours ago. I'm like, 3 hours ago, you need to be eating again right before you come in. It's that like, so yeah, balancing blood sugar. If I had to like yell it from the treetops, balance your blood sugar, people. It is, everybody needs to be doing it. It's very important. And the basic little habit that I would say for people, like breaking it down into the simplest terms, eat within the first 30 minutes of waking up, even if it's something small, and then try to eat every 2 to 3 hours. Learn about macros and learn how to build a balanced meal slash snack when you're consuming it. Those are the
Yeah.
three big things, right? Like figure out your macros, eat a protein, eat a fat, eat a fiber, eat carbs around your workout intentionally, and eat often and don't skip breakfast.
Yes, I know.
So,
I love when I see like these influencers who like wake up at 4:30 in the morning and like don't eat until like 8 o'clock. And
yeah,
I'm like, what are they eating? Are they just not recording themselves? Like I just don't
the,
understand it.
the reality is they're probably like cracking a Celsius or
Right?
drinking coffee and it's not filmed because they're like, I'm not eating anything. I'm not breaking my fast because everybody is subscribed to intermittent fasting. And
Yes.
they do it the reverse way, right? They don't do it the way that our bodies work best, where you intermittent fast, cutting your food window off at night versus cutting it
Yes.
off in the morning, right? Like nobody wants to do that because everybody wants the late night Netflix and Ben and Jerry's,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Well, since we're talking about fasting, so you said, and this is what I recommend for my clients too. So do you want to just, I know this wasn't on our docket, but
Yeah.
do you want to just explain to the listeners who especially are probably going to be mostly women, how intermittent fasting can affect our hormones and how our bodies respond to it in that way?
Yeah, of course. So this is a question I get all the time and something I have to explain to so many women at the gym. And what I want to say is intermittent fasting isn't bad. Like I just mentioned a minute ago, our bodies like to have that shortened eating window if you're doing it at night, because when you cut your eating window off at night, it gives your body a chance to digest your food before you go to sleep, allowing your body to do what it does best while you're sleeping, releasing growth hormone, working on your body, building your tissues and cells, really recovering from your day, from your workout, getting rid of stress, etc. When you do it the other way and you cut the eating window off and you start eating later in the day and don't eat when you wake up in the morning, what happens is your cortisol levels stay elevated throughout the day. Your body isn't able to process your cortisol efficiently enough. It still processes a little bit, but it stays more elevated throughout the day, which in turn affects our hormones. If you're not adequately managing your stress, like some people say, oh, well, I feel fine. Those people are probably adequately managing their stress outside of it. If you already live a stressful life, or maybe you have other things that are adding to your body's stress that you're not aware of, like poor sleep, imbalanced blood sugar, etc., you're going to be much more sensitive to having that elevated cortisol. And overall, it's just going to put more stress on your body, more stress on your hormones, and have a negative impact in the long term.
So, cycle syncing, I want to get your take on. A lot of my clients will ask me, well, how do you feel about cycle syncing your workouts? And I know it's very popular, and there's a lot of high influencers out there
Mhm.
who, are very into cycle syncing, period. I have my own thoughts about that, but I won't share them right this minute. But what are your thoughts on people who have like this, like, rigid syncing method for working out? Like, is it good for them in the gym? Is it not? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So, cycle syncing, the idea of it is great. I love that we are starting to recognize as a society that there is a difference between men and women, and that women's cycles do affect our day to day and our day to day output, our lived experience, how we show up in our lives and in the gym. That being said, cycle syncing the whole only do HIIT stuff at the follicular phase and then only do low impact in the luteal phase, like that whole structure, I loved it at first when I first learned about it, but the more I learned, so like I said at the beginning, I did my fertility awareness. I loved it when I was just learning about fertility awareness. as I got more into nutrition and fitness and I became a personal trainer and I started really, really diving into anatomy and physiology and hormonal function and how longevity and all of that, I realized that if you take women out of the gym, not doing any resistance training for half of their lives, because, well, that's also hyperbolic because obviously menopause and premenses, but for our cycling life, if you take us out of the gym and we're not doing heavy weightlifting, or any sort of elevated cardiovascular workout for half of our lives, that is going to have a more detrimental effect on women's health overall because of the loss of time building bone density and building cardiovascular health. My recommendation, instead of doing rigid cycle syncing based on those guidelines, would be follow the same workout plan all the time. Commit to the habit of being in there. That's the other thing, is not only is it taking us out of the gym for half of the month, but so many people have a hard time sustaining habits. And if you're consistently changing your routine all of the time, you don't really have a consistent habit to fall back on. So instead, have the same workout plan that you follow all the time and rather reduce the intensity or give yourself the option for an alternative if you need it.
Yeah. And I think, it can be helpful to understand your menstrual cycle because you're going to notice those body cues and to
Mhm.
tell like whether to go hard or to pull back. And I think I know a lot of people that I work with come to me because they feel crappy in their follicular phase when they should be feeling really good, right? Like per
Yeah.
cycle syncing. I think it's more so that body literacy aspect of I'm still gonna go, but I'm just gonna either lift lighter or, do more
Mhm.
reps, whatever it be.
I give my clients what I call the movement menu. It was something I kind of came up with because I wanted to give women a really easy way to look at it where they can make, because a lot of it is decision fatigue, right? Too. Like if
Yeah.
given the choice to make a decision, you're going to be like, nah, that's too hard. I'm just not going to go. So I made a flow chart and it basically allows you to do a check-in with yourself where you say, okay, how am I feeling right now? Where am I in my cycle? Like check in with yourself. Where are you in your cycle? How did you sleep? How did you eat? What did you eat? How long ago is your blood sugar balance? Check in with yourself. Ask yourself, regardless of all of that, how am I feeling? If you have no second thoughts, go to the gym, do your workout as planned. If you have a second thought, but you're like, no, maybe I'm just in my head. I don't want to give people a reason to like give themselves excuses not to go to the gym. It's a fine line, right? I want people to commit to themselves and go as hard as they can go. I have this internal drive at this point in my life since I've done it for so long where I want to go push myself. So pulling back is the harder part for me. A lot of people don't know how to work out with intensity. And so it's really easy for them to say, oh, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it today and not go. Anyway, so go. The next step down would be reduce your weights by 20 to 50%. So if I'm cycle day 28 and it's my late luteal phase, that's usually the worst for me, either the very last day of my cycle or day one of my cycle. Maybe if I check in with myself and I'm like, gosh, I feel really sluggish and I feel bad today, instead of doing a 200-pound squat, I'm going to do a 150-pound squat, a 180-pound squat. Like I'm not going to go hit my max. I'm not going to expect myself to PR. I'm just going to go hit the reps, do the same number of reps for less weight, do way less weight, do more reps. Now, the next step down from that would be just do body weight exercises or weighted stretches or do some sort of mobility flow in the gym. The next step down from that would be, do a home workout. If the thought of going to the gym right now freaks you out from like I don't want to go because there's going to be so many people around me and I've already had a stressful day and I'm going to be overstimulated, then now you can go back and do like an at-home workout. Like there's so many ways that we can work it where you can still live up to that movement commitment. You can still show up for yourself the way that you promised, but like reduce the intensity step by step by step so that you can do as much as you can do without overdoing it.
I love that. Do you find that recovery is different per each phase?
For sure. So I'm not going to say each phase like in the full-on cycle syncing menstrual phase, follicular phase, ovulatory phase, luteal phase, right? You and I both know it's really just follicular phase and luteal phase, like before ovulation and after ovulation. But yes, for sure. So if estrogen talk to brain body, then estrogen is going to support the brain body, right? So estrogen is a proliferative hormone. For those who don't know what proliferative means, in layman's terms, it means it's just going to create new cells. What it does in the uterus is it proliferates or grows the uterine lining, but it also proliferates our muscle and our bone. So when you work out and you push yourself really hard and your muscle is rebuilding itself and you do a little bit of impact and your bones are cued to get thicker and get denser, estrogen is going to support your body throughout that process. Progesterone does not support your body in the same way, so recovery is going to be slower. Also, when you're in your luteal phase and progesterone talk to brain body, progesterone, like I mentioned in my video, causes us to need more sleep, causes us to need 7 to 11% more food. And I said progesterone, but really, just like luteal phase requirements of
Yeah.
having reproductive organs that are costing us energy. So you're already in a part of your cycle where your body needs more energy. So you need to support yourself in that, which means that you're going to need more rest and more food to recover. But also something a lot of people don't know about progesterone is it causes us to need more oxygen. It causes the breathing response, respiratory drive per se, to increase. So you're more likely to feel out of breath during your workout. So that's something I didn't mention. I've kind of been talking after workout recovery, but it's also going to affect your during workout, like rest between sets. In the luteal phase, you may need more rest between sets if you're still pushing to the same intensity, or you can drop the intensity to like compensate for that difference in recovery. But yeah, so you're going to want to breathe more and you're going to feel more out of breath, which is why cardio is so sucky when they're in the
Oh,
luteal phase.
God. I'm usually like okay, we're gonna walk today in my luteal
Yeah.
phase. We've talked a little bit about it, but what are some foundational food habits that support people who train regularly?
The biggest thing I would say, so nutrition obviously is important for everybody. When you add training into that, what I would say is carb timing is the biggest thing. Knowing when to consume carbs. Like I said earlier, people come into the gym and they're like, I just had a protein shake. I'm like, okay, with milk? Like, did you get any amount of carbs with it? Because your body wants to have readily available carbs in your blood sugar when you're working out so that your muscles can respond as effectively and as quickly as possible and you have the most amount of output. If you don't consume carbs before your workout, you're relying on what's already in your bloodstream as well as your glycogen stores in your liver. So you're not going to be able to get the most effective workout if you're not consuming some amount of carbs prior to, which is why people do like the carb loading before they have a big event the night before so that they have more glycogen stores, making sure that they have as much as possible. But that only lasts for so long. And if you're really pushing yourself hard in the gym, it's going to be really hard to carb load enough the night before if you're not also going to give yourself some amount of carbohydrates beforehand. Now, after your workout, you also probably want to be having a little bit of carbs, unless you're somebody who is used to eating a low carb diet. If you're somebody who's not used to eating a low carb diet, you're going to want to eat those after your workout as well. That way you have energy for the rest of your day. Speaking from somebody who works out in the morning, maybe not as important if you're working out at night. It will help with your recovery though, either way.
I also want to just quickly touch on if we aren't giving ourselves enough nutrition, how does that affect our menstrual cycle?
Yes. So everybody knows when you lose a lot of weight, you lose your cycle, right? But a lot of people think that losing your cycle is the first thing. And they're like, I still have my cycle, so I must be fine. I must be eating enough. But your body doesn't have an all or nothing mindset until it reaches its breaking point. So the first thing that you notice when you start under eating or overtraining in relation to how much you're eating. So I know there's something in the notes about asking about like, oh, overtraining. Really, you can train like Olympic athletes train a ton. They have to eat their weight to maintain that and not have hormonal problems because of it. So you can train hard if you're willing to do the work to eat as much as you can to make up for that. When you start training, overtraining, undereating in combination, and you're not fueling your body appropriately, your hormones are going to stop functioning optimally at first. So that is going to look like very subtle changes in your cycle, something that somebody who is not tracking all of their biomarkers, they're probably not going to catch it, right? It's going to be like a lessening in the cervical mucus and potentially your luteal phase length starting to get shorter, just kind of depending on what things they have going on in their life, right? It could show up in either phase of the cycle. Usually it's going to start out, from what I've seen, lessening of cervical mucus, less estrogen throughout the month, and then worsening of PMS symptoms. Maybe their period is lighter, but it's more painful, like something like that, where it's obvious that something is changing, but unless you're attuned to your body and paying attention, you may not notice. And then once it gets bad enough, then your body stops ovulation because it reaches its breaking point. It says, we're too stressed out. There's too much going on. There's not enough nutrients for us to grow a baby. Let's quit off. Like, no more ovulation. We're done with that for now. So I'd say that is what you would see.
And after a certain point, we actually call it hypothalamic amenorrhea, where you go long periods of time where you're just not getting a period. So, and I think in general, women tend to undereat as
For
well.
sure.
A lot of my clients will come in, I'll have them on my intake form. I'll say, what does your general meals look like in a day? Just like throw them out there, right? And a lot of them are maybe at like 1,000 calories, if that. And I'm like, girl, you need to eat more.
Yeah, they only eat lunch and dinner and call it intermittent fasting. And it's like you're
Yes.
not getting your daily recommended, like what's required by your body calorically. You're not getting that in your intermittent fasting window. Like you're calling it intermittent fasting, but you're really just starving
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly. We're not Gwyneth Paltrow, so
No,
it's
no,
just
definitely not. Well,
yeah,
another side note that is kind of a side topic from this, a lot of women have hypothalamic amenorrhea, but don't realize it because they're on birth control and they're getting withdrawal bleeds. So
yes.
a lot of women too come off of birth control and they're like, "Where's my period? It's been like 6 months and I still don't have my period." And their GP is like, "Oh yeah, well give it like another 6 months and we'll see what happens." But they're just really underweight.
Yeah, and they want to, whether they want to conceive or, whatever it is, yeah, they're just not getting it. Or they still might be having breakthrough bleeds and they think that's normal, but they're not ovulating. And they aren't finding that they're not ovulating because they're not tracking their cycles. So, yeah, all of this talk has been if you are not on birth control up until now.
Correct.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of, maybe there might be some listeners that are like, well, I'm tracking my cycle, but I'm on birth control. And so
I
it,
get that comment all the time on my viral video. That's probably my like one of my top comments on that video is what about on birth control? Does this like my cycle is on birth control? And I'm like, if you're on birth control, you probably don't have a cycle like in the
right,
traditional sense, right? So nothing I'm saying really applies to you.
right, exactly. I think it's just like an eye-opening moment for some people because they're like, well, what is this bleed then? Right?
Yeah,
It's man-made.
when I first understood the concept of a withdrawal bleed and I found out that I wasn't actually having a period, it wasn't a period at all. I was like,
Yeah,
what? Mind blowing to me.
it
Why was
is.
this not disclosed? And it is, and it's just in the fine print. But
Yeah, but your doctor's not going to go over that.
no, they're not going to
So,
go over that. They're not going to take the time to like take you seriously if you have real questions about it either. They're going to be like, oh, well, whatever.
yeah. I know. Moving on, I deal with a lot of people who have histamine intolerances and problems with hypermobility. What do you suggest? Like, do you work with people who have hypermobility and what do you like suggest type of strength training is good for them or like movement is best for them?
So I myself am hypermobile,
But
actually, and it has been a struggle for sure because, as a hypermobile person, I was a dancer, I was a cheerleader, and so I kind of like leaned into it too far where I have torn lots of things. I've torn my rotator cuff, I've torn places in my hip, I like popped both my knees out of place. All of those things have happened to me because of my hypermobility. So I 100% understand the struggle, how scary it is to be hypermobile and do loaded movements and all of that. My recommendation, so anytime you're getting into fitness, regardless of if you're hypermobile or not, you should always start at the bottom. If you've never lifted with weights, or if it's been a long time since you lifted with weights, or you're just getting back, doesn't matter. Start at the bottom, regress the movement. I can regress a movement all the way to, like, believe it or not, I have people that I have them stand straight up in front of a wall, step back 2 feet, lean forward, put their hands on the wall, and do a push up from that position. It's barely any weight, but that is still a workout for that person. Now, somebody who's hypermobile, they may have more strength than somebody who I'm putting up against a wall, right? So for that person, I would say, do isometric movements. Start out with body weight isometric movements. Do some really, really slow eccentrics. Eccentric is a controlled elongation of the muscle for like a squat that's on the way down, for a pull up that's as you're coming down from the bar. Whenever the other side of the contraction, right? You would think of the
Mhm.
working part of the movement as you're contracting the muscle, whatever it is, you're slowly relaxing and elongating that muscle. Do that for 5 to 10 seconds. Stop and hold it for 20 to 30 seconds in that position. Over time, you're going to build that strength without having to put the load on right away. And then you're going to have the strength to control the loaded movements and then slowly build the range of motion. So you're starting at an isometric, which just means you're not moving at all, and then do a smaller range of motion where you're moving a couple of inches. For people who I'm just getting them deadlifting for the first time, I'll put the bar up on 2 feet of blocks where they barely bend their knees, grab the bar, stand up. Barely bend their knees, put the bar down. It's nothing. It's 2 inches of movement and they feel really silly doing it. But that starts training at the very, very like basic level. And then you can build on that. And that works for anybody, but for hypermobile people, it's way more important because they're at risk for injury.
I've even seen it with myself in like my lower back and stuff, like bending over. Like we're so flexible and we're like, oh, I can do this. And then you go to pull and it's like, oh, I just like tore something or I just
Are
like
you
injured
hypermobile as
something.
well?
I am. So yeah, I have to be very intentional with, okay, what am I doing? How am I doing it? Where am I putting this at? And like, don't overdo it. So
Yeah, it's the silliest thing. As strong as I am, I tore my rotator cuff last year doing an overhead throw with a
oh,
6 pound ball. 6 pounds. I can overhead press 25 to 30 pounds. I can do overhead squats. I can do overhead movements. It's not that I couldn't lift the 6 pounds. It's that I got back there and my shoulder decided it was going to subluxate. And
yeah.
I don't know if you have read Fourth Wing or any of
Yes.
that
Yeah.
literature. Yeah, I feel like Violet all the time. I'm like,
Yes.
she's like
Oh
talking about her
gosh.
joints all clickety clackety, subluxating, popping, not feeling good. I'm like, yes, girl, I relate to that. Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't even think about the correlation, but that's totally it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. She's a hypermobile girly.
yeah,
She got through it. So,
she did. Oh gosh. What advice do you have for someone that wants to move but hates the gym?
so I have two parts to my answer of this question. My first part is you don't have to move at a gym. You can move at home. Like I said, movement menu. There is so many different ways to modify, adjust, regress, like baby step your way into it. There's ways to work out at home if you don't want to go to the gym. My question, the second part is why do you hate the gym? And that usually comes down to a mindset thing, right? Like people are conditioned to hate the gym because they hate working out, because they are working out because they hate their bodies. And at the end of the day, if you start to love your body and you start to love movement, you're going to start to love the gym and you're going to start looking at it like an adult playground and stop looking at it like it's a torture camp, right?
Yeah.
Like, so why do you hate the gym? Then take a step back and say, okay, I need to change my mindset. Stop telling yourself you hate the gym. Stop telling yourself that you hate working out and then reframe it. Say, I'm going to spend 15 minutes for myself, moving my body in a way that I enjoy. I'm going to build a habit of loving movement and then over time start to like dabble with the gym. And nobody, I don't want to like promote personal training for myself or anything like that, but if you don't like going to the gym a lot of the time too, it's because you're confused about what to do. So
Yeah, you might not know how to do things, right?
yeah. Yeah, so then it's confusing. You have decision fatigue every time you're in there. You hate it. You don't know what workouts you're doing. You aren't comfortable with the gym. You're not familiar with the equipment. You don't want to like move all over the place the whole time. That's another thing people struggle with is they see like a workout on Instagram, but then one machine is over here and another machine is over here and they only can work out at 5 p.m. and that's when everybody else can work out. So the gym is busy. Like so working with somebody, a personal trainer, an online coach, somebody who can guide you into loving movement, who can guide you and make you feel confident and comfortable with the weights, with the movements, so that you feel like you know what you're doing, so that you start to actually love it and enjoy it. That's my advice for the person who says they hate the gym, but they want to get into movement. Start small, start at home, start playing around with the gym a little bit, and then invest in a coach, invest in somebody who is going to make you feel comfortable and confident. Because if you get the right coach and you do the right coaching program, etc., you don't have to do another one for the rest of your life unless you just need that accountability.
Yeah.
Because if you have the right person, they're not barely teaching you anything. Like my clients, I tell them, I'm like, this is the last coaching experience you're ever going to need for the rest of your life because I'm going to not only teach you how to do it, but I'm going to teach you how to love it and live it and not need me anymore, which isn't a good business model, you know, but it's what people need.
That is such great advice. I think that it helps encourage them to just go and seek out help. And I think so many times, there's so much out there. There's Chat GPT, and this leads us into my next question, which is trends, viral trends, like the vibration plates and weighted vests and all of that. So, but I think people just need to see what's best for their body, get the help, and trust that process because it can be really, really helpful for so many people.
Yeah, I mean, I had a personal trainer. It's not like I just got into this and I've always been a gym person. I had personal trainers because I was these people. I didn't feel comfortable in the gym. I didn't know what I was doing with the weights. I'm hypermobile. I know I'm hypermobile. I felt very scared of injury. I blew both my knees out in high school. So getting into the weight room in college was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So for my first year of college, I just did hot yoga and the abduction adduction machine because I thought it was going to make my butt bigger. Like, you know, but then I got a personal trainer and I learned how to structure my workouts. I learned that rest is important. And I started learning about macros and all of that other stuff. So, really having a coach allowed me to get the results that I wanted much faster, much more effectively, with way less, bumps in the road, anything like that. It was an easier journey for me because I hired a coach, and I'm very glad that I did.
So, what do you think about some of these trends like vibration plates, weighted vests, cold plunges?
Yeah, I feel about them like I feel about green juice, right? Green juice is fun. It is good. It feels good drinking it. I enjoy it. It's wonderful. Depending on what's in it, right? It's like apples and celery and kale, and it has a bunch of micronutrients and things that are going to be good for my body, but it's not a meal replacement shake. And if I treat it like a meal replacement shake, I'm going to starve. And that's how I feel about these trends, right? Like vibration plates. Yeah, it's great for your lymph. It's good for recovery. It's awesome. But if you're not having some other movement throughout the day and that's all you're doing yourself a disservice. Weighted vests, good tool. You're going to build more muscle wearing a weighted vest than you wouldn't just because you have more resistance on your body. But it's not going to replace heavy deadlifting, heavy squats. It's not going to replace those other things, right? Cold plunges, great for you, great for your stress, great for adaptations in your body. It's not going to replace good sleep.
Yeah.
Like back to the basics: eat
Yeah.
good, sleep good, move your body.
Yeah.
That's it. Everything
Absolutely.
else is supplementary.
I couldn't agree more. Definitely. If someone wanted to support their body every day in under 10 minutes, what would you tell them to focus on? I know
Okay.
you said 15 minutes, so maybe we'll switch that
Yeah,
to 15
we
minutes.
we can do 10. I mean, 10 is not as good as 15, but if you have only 10 minutes, 10 minutes is better than zero. With however much time you have to give yourself, if all you have is 10 minutes, I would say after each meal, spend time walking and or moving. Maybe I don't want to tell people to go jump up and down after a meal, but
I feel like squats
bouncing.
are a good one. Like I've heard that
Squats are a
squats
good
are,
one. Yeah. Well, your calves uptake the most amount of glucose is something that I've heard. I haven't seen a study on
oh,
it,
fun.
but it tracks. It makes sense to me. Either way, getting your muscles to uptake glucose after a meal balances your blood sugar. Broken record, here we go. Balances your blood sugar, lets you feel better. If you can incorporate something that's also going to move your lymph better, like doing some arm swings or some of that. I've seen like the Chinese morning routine where you like do the flow with your arms. That's wonderful. Bouncing up and down does the same thing. So, moving for 5 minutes after your carb heavy meals would be my recommendation. Take that time, do a mobility flow, do some jumping up and down, do some squats, do literally anything that is going to move your body. If you want to squeeze every single muscle in your body and then relax it because you can't actually get up and move, you can do this in your chair. You could squeeze your calves really hard and relax. Squeeze your calves really hard and then relax. Do something.
Yeah.
That's
That.
that's all
Yeah.
I have to say is do something. If you have
Same.
10 minutes, do something.
Right, exactly. I have recently started sitting a lot at work on Wednesdays. And so I literally am doing squats while I'm typing up an email or
Mhm.
doing calf lifts, like whatever it is.
Well, and people think of it as movement for the sake of aesthetics or building muscle or whatever it is. But what a lot of people, and I'm glad that you've read Burnout because you're going to totally track with what I'm saying, is movement is the best way to complete the stress cycle. If you're not, that's the other thing. So eat well, sleep well, move your body, but release stress. Prioritize releasing stress on a regular basis, completing the stress cycle on a regular basis. You can do this through movement. Movement is the most effective way, but let out a primal scream. Do something for your mental health. The 5 to 10 minutes of movement, 15 minutes of movement, I just say like 5 minutes after every meal, which is kind of where I get the 15 minutes from. That is going to complete the stress cycle, which is going to help you balance your hormones, which is going to help your cycle. So move your body for stress, for yourself, for your own mental health, for your own happiness, not for getting skinny or anything else like that. Do it for self-love.
I see, like a lot of mothers or women who are midlife and their adrenals are completely destroyed. And
Mhm.
I'm like, you need to start supporting your adrenals. And by doing that, it's reducing that stress somehow. Like you
Yeah,
have to move that stress through. And so, yeah, we talk about this all the time. I'm like, just like go scream in a pillow if you have to. Like, I
no
don't
big
really
deal.
care. Like, whatever you find cathartic, I want
Yeah,
you to
like
do. Like, yeah,
shake your
just
yeah,
shake.
shake around.
Yeah,
Who cares
tap.
what you do? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so many people get stuck in the track of, well, I can't do a full hour workout, so I'll wait until I can. And it's like, no, if you're feeling stressed out right now is the best time to like get rid of the stress. If you're somebody who works in an office and your boss comes in and says something stressful to you, and you're like, I can't wait to hit the gym later and let this out, why not take a couple minutes in your desk right now to clench your muscles and release. Take a couple of deep breaths. Like, give yourself a moment. You're
Yeah.
going to show up better in your life, at your job, for your kids, for your partner, for yourself. It can be 30 seconds. It can be 10 seconds. It can be just taking a breath when you experience stress and allowing yourself to de-stress by doing something physical, like
Yep.
squeeze your muscles, relax, do a leg lift, do some arm swings, do some diaphragmatic breathing, something like that. But definitely do it for yourself because you're not going to be able to show up like with your mothers. Like you said, a lot of them are really stressed out, feel like they don't have any time for themselves, feel like they can't work out, feel like they can't go to the gym because they've got little kids to take care of. But you can't afford not to show up for yourself because
Yeah.
eventually you're not going to be able to do what you need to do as a mom and show up for your kids if you can't handle the things that are going on in your life because your body is starting to yell at you because you're not handling your stress.
Well, and I think a lot of moms will have like this mom rage where it just starts building up and building up and building up. And so, like, releasing that can help release that mom rage. And then you don't feel
Yeah.
so bad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do for you so that you can show up for your kids and love your kids the way that you want to show up for them.
Do you have any questions? Like I know you said
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah. So mine are kind of silly and not like super serious
Yeah.
questions, but tell me about your microfeminism.
So my microfeminism is I wear period underwear and cloth pads.
Me
So
too.
I love it. I have like a whole thing on it. Anyway, so what's been really funny is over the past few years of me doing this, I have this wet bag and it's a diaper wet bag that I keep my menstrual products in. And I bring it out and I set it right by the toilet and I don't even have to like tell my husband or my son because they just know that mom is on her period. And I started doing it for my 15-year-old too. So my 15-year-old has her own wet bag in her own bathroom. And my son uses that bathroom more so than my bathroom, but he's
Yeah.
like, oh, Emmy's on her period again. Like it's just, they know, but it's,
Normalizing the fact, like, we're not
yeah,
hiding tampons up our sleeves anymore. Well, it's 2026. You're a woman, you have a period. It's okay.
yeah, yeah. So
Stop
yeah,
feeling
that's,
embarrassed in the women's bathroom when you're undoing a pad and you're like doing it really, really slow, right? Trying not to let any of the other women who also have female bodies, who also have periods in the bathroom know that you're experiencing something that all women go through like once a month.
so crazy.
It's ridiculous. Like, let's stop doing that, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I agree. So yeah, so that's my microfeminism. I just pull it out and it's funny because it works. I don't even have to say anything. And he's like, because at first he was like, what is this? And then he realized, and I was like, ever since he realized, he's like, okay, yep, It's her
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Give her
I
chocolate and warmth.
Yes, yes. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, I saw that on your Instagram and I was like, I have to hear more.
I know. It's funny. It was silly, but it's all good.
I have a little microfeminism of my own. So my version of this is I created a sweatshirt that I custom ordered for myself that says in my winter
I love that.
that I wear when I start my period.
That is amazing.
It's like I can wear it out in public and people just probably think I'm like,
What is
kind
that?
of
Yeah.
Tumblr aesthetic, like just trying to be angsty or like whatever it is. But it really just says I'm on my period in code language that nobody besides fertility awareness and cycle educated women are gonna get. And so I I just love it. I love being
I
like I am talking about periods and I'm announcing my period publicly, but nobody knows.
right. That is amazing. You need to like make some merch.
I really do. I made it a couple years ago and I'll probably have it remade on a sweatshirt that's more comfortable because I was broken in college and just really passionate. I also had one made that says progesterone princess on it
Oh,
and I
that's
love
awesome.
that. Love that. And it's got like a very tiny little uterus on it, but you
Oh,
wouldn't know it was a uterus unless you know it's a uterus, you know?
right. Yeah,
Anyway.
absolutely. That's awesome. I know I have seen like my I'm in my luteal phase or something like that. Like I've seen other ones like that, but I
I
like
just wanted
that.
to make something that was a little bit more
Yeah.
subtle.
No.
Not so like in your face, like I'm a feminist, but
Yeah.
just like something that's slightly period positive that nobody's really gonna clock. And if you do clock it, you're gonna appreciate it.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. If you start selling them or if you buy more, like order one for me and I'll buy it from you.
Okay.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So where can listeners find you and learn more about your work?
Yeah. On my Instagram at Kenzie Jo Fitness and on my website at hellokenzijo.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Love your
Yes,
work. I love what
thank
you're doing
you.
and the way you're helping people reconnect with their bodies in such just like an intuitive, grounded, simple way. I hope you continue to grow and spread your cavewoman wisdom far and wide. And we definitely need more videos like yours in the reproductive health and wellness area. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend. And if you're ready to learn how to chart your cycles, understand your hormones on a deeper level, or want to work with Kenzie, I will post how to reach us in the show notes below. Until next time, take care of yourself and listen to your body. It's always talking.